At Ottoson Middle School, a group of dedicated young scientists spend afternoons and weekends working on unique research projects. They are part of the Science Fair Club, an after-school activity focused on furthering the kids' love of science. Students in the 6th, 7th, and 8th grade team up with advisors to plan and execute their individual projects, with an eye on competing in the state's regional science fair. Ottoson Middle School teacher Dr. Varghese runs the after-school program.
Absolutely. So the journey kind of started in October when we opened up the club, and once a week the students get together and we discuss for the first month and a half topics that might be of interest to them, and we kind of work on the scientific method, understanding, reinforcing what they've learned in class already, to figure out what's a topic that they'd be passionate about. Because this is something that they're going to do above and beyond regular schoolwork.
I had a great experience last year. I actually went to states. So I had a great time last year, so I wanted to redo it again this year. I just like science a lot. I saw the Science Fair Club. It was the only one that really attracted me, and so I went for it.
This year, Vittorio hopes to return to states with his new project working to shield electronics against electromagnetic pulses. Harry Averill worked on another technically complex project.
I've been interested in flight for a little while now. My hypothesis was that if a control surface was on the front of a wing, that it would be more efficient or create more lift than if it were on the back. And it actually ended up, it was incorrect, and the trailing edge control surface created about 33.9, almost 40% more lift than if it were on the front.
Science is really about solving puzzles, which is exactly what 7th grader Reza Merchant explored in his project.
I was trying to find a project that had to do with something that I like, which is Rubik's Cube. And I also play soccer, so I also thought, why not take athletes and non-athletes and test them to see which one would perform better when it comes to doing 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 moves. Mostly athletes would perform better when it comes to 1, 2, 3, and 4, 5 moves. As you can see by the conclusion graph, athletes were higher, then they went lower, and then they went higher. I also noticed something that from 3 moves and on, non-athletes would sometimes try harder than the athletes, but they still would get higher times.
While some projects research complicated scientific hypotheses, other students focus on the everyday problems that we all face. Ava Bussone explored the causes of a common phenomenon.
I did what's the most common way to get goosebumps, and I tested 15 people, and I did 3 experiments on them. The first one was a clip from the new Ghostbusters movie, and then they listened to a chalkboard being scratched 3 times for 8 seconds, and then an ice pack went on their neck for 30 seconds, and then they answered a survey on what they got goosebumps on and what they didn't, and how strong they were, and then I found that being cold is the most common way to get goosebumps.
8th grader DeLaBarre put a practical spin on his research.
The problem I wanted to tackle was pickpocketing, because I was in a place where pickpocketing is very common, and I realized I wasn't very worried about what was in my pockets being stolen as I was what was in my backpack, because it's always behind you and out of sight, and you can't really feel people poking around in it. And so I wanted to make a way so that when the zipper is opened, it would trigger a little alert basically in the shoulder strap, so I have a vibration motor set up in that.
Middle school students are notorious for oversleeping and rushing into class at the last minute. Victor Chen used the computer language Python to create an app for that.
Last year, I came up with this idea because one morning, I woke up and it was raining outside, so I asked my parents if they could give me a ride, and it was already pretty late. So they were really mad at me for coming up at last minute, just saying can I have a ride? So I thought why not make a code that will tell you whether or not you should walk the previous day, and so the next day you won't have to tell your parents in the morning. You can just tell them the day before.
We're trying to find a project that rings true to them, in their passion. And so for most of them, we've found that there's a reason why they did this project. There's a story behind it, and we find that most compelling scientists, they're passionate about what they do, and there's some reason why.
For Arlington Public News, I'm Sammy Warkow.